Hi, my name is Julie Roca, and you have found the podcast Aging Gracefully with Julie Roca. When we get older, I don't know about you, but we look around and realize we may have collected a lot of stuff. And then we may realize that we can't stay in the house that we've been in, and we need to do what we call in our industry, we need to right size. So we need to go through our stuff and find out what to do with it all. That can be very challenging for some people. So today I have brought my good friend Fred Stover, and Fred is going to talk to us about that very thing. So Fred, tell me a little bit about what brought you to this industry of right sizing.
Well, it's a weird question, but let me say this. I started out doing this when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
My dad actually owned a junk or furniture store.
Oh, how fun.
And so he often liked to go get coffee. So, of course, he had to go to the corner to get coffee. So I would be there at 8 years old watching the store. Oh. And we had a lot of little ladies that would come in and shop, and they just adored me. And I was like the best salesman. So I did that all through elementary or through, I guess, late elementary school, but all the way through high school and into college until my dad got sick and then passed away. But then I traversed into hotels and then senior living. Mm-hmm. But all through that time, I still kind of dealt on the side with antiques and helping people kind of downsize, right size.
Right.
And it was just kind of a natural thing to me to move into this new career that I've chosen to do.
Yeah, because in senior living, you would see it more than probably most people.
Oh, yes.
You know, when you've got a 5-bedroom house and it is full of all the stuff that you've treasured over the years, and now you're trying to move into a 1-bedroom apartment in an assisted living, that is a challenge.
It is a big challenge. And I've seen people downsize from 10-room houses down to just like literally a living room and a bedroom.
Yeah.
And the problem that a lot of them have is they're very attached to their items, and they want to pass them on to their children. They have all these plans of this is going to this daughter, this is going to my granddaughter, this is going to this. The problem is that most times those people don't want the things necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. My grandmother is a great example of that. She had a house full of stuff, and they had sheds full of stuff. My grandfather actually had some trauma from being in the Depression, and so he literally would save little bits of strings and screws and all kinds of things.
Yes.
Because he was so afraid that there would be a time where he would need something and not have it. So he had everything. If you needed anything for a project, you just say, Grandpa, I need. Now, he might not have been able to find it, but he had it. And my grandmother had lots of collectible items and beautiful dishes and silverware and hutch. And no one wanted it. And I think it hurt her feelings that none of us had the space.
It does. It's I think as we go through life, especially that generation, they didn't come for very much. They didn't have a whole lot. So they built up all this stuff, and they assume that it's more of almost a treasure to them, and they're passing it on to that next generation.
Yeah, and I think you had a point there because they didn't have a lot. The stuff that they bought was valuable. I buy a vacuum cleaner now, and I know I got 3 years on it, and I'm throwing it out. There's nothing. There's no treasure there. My dishes, I buy at a yard sale because I know how my kids are. That I know I can't have anything great because they're gonna smash. So, but that generation did value nice things.
And I will give you a quick example of this. So my mother actually, she passed away about 5 years ago, and right before I went in senior living, actually. So when I downsized her to move from Ohio down to here, she was in like a 10-room house. And so she had a lot of stuff. But one of the things that she had a lot of were clothes and shoes and purses. Because when she was growing up as a little kid,
over here,
she just really did not have that stuff when she was a kid. She had like maybe 2 dresses, a pair of shoes that were hand-me-downs from like 5 different people.
Oh my goodness.
God bless her. So when I moved her down here, she had probably a good 100 pairs of shoes.
You're telling my story right now.
Yeah, but so I downsized her and I closed and everything. And so she had a big walk-in, this probably size of this room, that was just full. And so I had to downsize her a lot because we didn't have room in this thing. But when I got her down here, she kept shopping.
Oh, no.
So I ended up, when I moved her to move in with me, we actually had to downsize her again. And even then, she still had her closets were stacked, packed, and all that. But I don't like, it's nothing bad. It's just that she told me, she said, I didn't have this growing up.
That was
We were
me
very
too.
poor.
Yep.
You know.
I came from the preacher's house, and
Right.
almost everything I owned was hand-me-down, and I got a pair of sneakers and a pair of Sunday shoes, and that was it.
Right.
And so that was my downfall over here. You speak.
My
into the
mother's
choir.
family was very poor. I mean, she was born in Kentucky. She was literally born in a log cabin on the side of a
Oh,
mountain.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So poor.
So she collected stuff
Yes.
to compensate. So when you're trying to help families, how do you help them decide what to keep?
So that is a tough one. So one of the things I tell people is, and trust me, I didn't come up with this on my own. I got it from the show Hoarders.
Yeah,
Because it's a question, and it's a good question to ask, which is if you had a fire and somebody already rescued all your photo albums and all that, what is 10 things that you would want to save out of this house?
Ooh, and I can tell you right now, it wouldn't be a single pair of my shoes or a purse.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's a good question.
And it's you start with that. What are the 10 most important things? And then you can start thinking about, all right, so you're going into, let's say, a senior living. You're getting a one-bedroom somewhere. So you have enough room for a bed, a dresser, a chest, and then just kind of go from there.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's just kind of whittling down what they have because they're not going to they can't move it all.
No,
It's
you
not
cannot.
happening.
You cannot. Even if you downsize from the home that you raised your children into to like a townhome, like my husband and I are considering, we don't need a 5-bedroom house. The day our kids decide to move out, I don't want that. I don't want to clean it. I don't want to air condition it and heat it and all that.
Exactly.
So, we're going to look at downsizing. And it's not just something for our senior population to look at. So a lot of people don't know the worth, the value of their stuff. And they want to know if that's something that you can help with.
Right. So I've been very thankful, having done this since I was 8, to learn a lot over all the years. Even there's still some things that I sometimes have to question. I have to go to an expert because I just don't know.
Yeah.
But I have a good knowledge, a good feel for general pricing, so I can help people to value it. Now, I can value it 2 ways. I can value it as for insurance purposes.
Gotcha.
And then what you can actually get for it.
Yes, that's right.
And that's an important thing
Things
to
are only
realize.
as valuable as what people
Exactly.
will pay for it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And now I've heard something interesting recently from someone who does real estate sales. And she was saying that you have no idea what it is that people will buy. She said she will sell half-used lotions and body care products, which, I mean, that totally makes me cringe. But other people, maybe they've got a use for it.
But think about this. So with the skyrocketing cost of everything right now, I've seen in the past at estate sales where they will just group everything together. So they'll say everything under the cabinet for one price. And and it might go on an online auction up to $30, $40. And you're like, oh my God. But when you sit down and actually look at each item, that's about a third of what you'd pay at the store. Now, all of it's not necessarily full, but it's cleaning chemicals. I get what you get about the lotion and stuff. I'd be like, oh, cringy about that.
Body care, maybe not.
Yeah,
but
like cleaning stuff and even cans of food. I mean, I've seen that
it's unopened and
that's
within
one thing I
date.
tell people is because when they get to me with estate sales, they've already thrown away a bunch of the food, and I'm like, did you check it to see if it was good? And I'm like, and some of them are good. They donate it to charities. But, unfortunately, a lot of times it's going in the trash. And I'm like, that you just threw a lot of money in the trash, unfortunately.
Can you share that story that you told me the other day about the bonfire?
Oh, yes. So I was recently had a lady, she reached out to me. She's from like 5 states away, and she wanted some assistance with an estate sale. And she was telling me that she had just become so overwhelmed when she walked through the door. It was just a massive house, and she hadn't been in it for many years, and she was just instantly overwhelmed, and she only had like a certain amount of time. And she just went into panic mode, and she just started taking stuff and taking it out and putting it in a big bonfire out in the yard, and unfortunately burned like a lot of really valuable things. And I told her, I was like, oh God, please don't do that again.
No more bonfires
I will help
for
you
you
so much. But I was just, in my mind, I'm just like, oh my God, there's so much money you just lost.
Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes people hesitate to call for help because they think it's going to be so expensive that
Right.
it's, they're not going to maybe be able to afford it. But in
Right.
reality,
they don't put any money up front typically.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunately, a lot of times people just want to get it over with and done. They don't actually think that, oh, there's a dollar value attached to this. Mm-hmm. But there really is, and it can help with expenses because, especially if they're moving in senior living, you know that the expenses are going to be very high.
Yeah. I mean, even if you get a couple $1,000s out of it, it's still worth it. And you didn't really have to, they didn't have to do anything.
Right.
You do that.
Right. And I recently had one that I did a walkthrough with this past week. And the house is kind of in rough shape. But at the end of the day, there's still a lot of valuables in there. Mm-hmm. And it's the fact of getting it out, getting it sold for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he was ready to just call a dumpster out and just chuck it all in the dumpster.
So that brings out a good question. How does this process, the estate sale, how does that work, actually?
So there's multiple ways you can do it. And one of those is to do an actual on-site estate sale where traditionally, you go in and everything's priced. You have it multiple days. Typically on the first day, it's just a set price, usually a high price. Obviously, you want to get the highest price for them. Second day is usually a discount, and if you do a third day, it's usually a further discount.
Yeah. And people should not be in the house for those days.
No, the families really shouldn't because it's hard to see stuff go then because then you're going to see something that you didn't see, and you're going to be like, oh my God. So it's important for me as a seller to be going into when I see stuff that's more personalized that I pull that back out and say, hey, you might want this.
Yeah. You might not be aware that this is still here. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So then they can also do this online, right?
Right. So another option is if you do the estate sales as well, you can do this after that. But to do an actual online auction where people don't actually come into the house, it would actually be like me coming through, photographing, cataloging everything, putting an online auction, and then having it sold, and then people come to the house on a set day for them to pick up.
Yeah.
And then you get the house cleaned out pretty quickly on doing that way.
Yeah. And there's not a ton of people coming through and just spending time wandering through the house. So I definitely see value in that. Now, where I was a little bit confused maybe before is the length of time that one would take.
So you can do them fairly quickly. It depends on the actual items. If it's like a very, say, higher end antiques, you're going to want that to run a little bit longer so that you can get a little bit more bids and coverage and more attendance on the online. But you can do them as soon as like 3 or 4 days and then have the pickup be on the 5th day. So usually, obviously all the work is on the front side of it because you're going to have to go through and catalog it.
Cataloging, taking pictures.
That does take
posting
time.
It online. All of that takes time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's nice. I have a platform that's being built right now that will allow me to just easily input all that, and it is supposed to be very smooth.
It's supposed to be very easy. I'm sure the first 1 or 2 will be a learning curve.
It will be.
But so if someone is looking to sell their home shortly after, excuse me, might that not be the way to go? Would that maybe take too much time if they need to turn around and sell the house quickly?
Most time, the house is going to be listed within about a week or 2. So it usually gives you enough time to do that. Perfect. Now, at a certain point, I'll be able to take, if it's not a whole house full, you've got to be honest. There's Very few people that can actually handle a whole house load. But if it's just a small amount of things, at a certain point, I'll just be able to take it and put it in a warehouse if need be.
Okay, I got you.
You know.
So if you needed a quick turnaround, that may be an answer.
And I will say I've talked to a few real estate agents that have posed that as an option for some of their seller fees that they get to help clean the house out quickly, is that they would actually help pay for hauling it to a secondary location.
Okay. Oh, great.
Yeah.
So that was going to be my next question, is what happens with the stuff that doesn't get sold?
So if it's an actual on-site estate sale, the items I would put on a secondary online auction and see if we could sell it that way. At the end of the day, it's whatever's decided between the seller and myself.
Okay.
Now, they may not care about it. They may want to look at it. They may just say, give it to charity.
Okay.
Any of those options, but that's usually a discussion that's like on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of a client that I have right now that is out of state and is not going to be able to come and look at anything or do anything with his stuff. So all of his stuff needs to be gotten rid of so that the home can be sold.
Right.
So that process to me seems big and overwhelming.
It is. And unfortunately, if you really think about the population of Florida, there's a lot of seniors here. They came from the north. All their family is up north. And so when they're passing away down here, for instance, the one I was saying earlier, she's from Indiana. So by the time she came down, she had to take a whole week off from work.
Yeah.
And it's hard for them to take out of their life to come and try to decide what to do with all this stuff.
Yeah. Yes, I imagine.
Because their other option is to take it back home, and most of them don't want to haul it all the way back to Indiana or wherever.
Yeah. I know with my grandparents, after their passing, it was a good long time of family gathering around and trying to clean things out, and it was just overwhelming.
Right.
To the point where, I look at that and say, I am not doing that to my children. So I am actually weeding out the purses and the shoes just to make it a little bit easier. But now, on the flip side of the coin, so if people want to use you for getting rid of their stuff, they can find you where?
So I have my own website, mamarosastreasure.com. So you can go there. I'm also on Facebook, and I will also be listed on multiple sites here locally, including Live Auctioneers and estatesales.com.
Okay.
So,
but on the flip side of that coin, if you wanted to accumulate stuff, and I've definitely bought some stuff from Fred already.
Yes, you have.
I have this. I'm a sucker for glassware, so I have a lot of glasses. But if you want to find your auctions, how can we do that?
So that will be listed on multiple platforms as well, one of them being Live Auctioneers, but they can also go through my website and register through that.
Okay, awesome. And then you kind of give the instructions on where and when to pick up and all of that stuff.
Right. So if it's an online auction, I usually don't give out the listing of where it's at until after the sale's completed because there are unscrupulous people in the world.
But do you kind of give a vague
a general
idea?
area, like it's in Williston or it's in Bronson or Gainesville.
Okay, because I might not, for example, want to buy something you're selling in Lake City on a day that I know I'm not going to be able to pick up in Lake City.
It's like I have two sales coming up down in, they're all both going to be online, but they'll be down in the Silver Springs.
Okay.
Down way out in the sticks.
Yeah, so you have to plan
the
day that auction ends and you have the pickup day. You have to be able to plan to go that day and pick up.
And one of the options, obviously if somebody's not going to be able to make it at that exact time, I can make arrangements to have it picked up at a different time, but not. That's on a case-by-case basis.
That's the exception to the rule.
Yes. That's a case-by-case basis.
Yes, case-by-case basis.
Yes.
Well, I feel like it's a lot easier to downsize or right size if you've got an expert there helping you.
Yes, and it's important for the families, and I can give you that. For instance, I had I won't say young lady. She was 98 when she moved in to our community. Wow. She went to a 2-bedroom from a 12-bedroom house.
Oh.
Like she was a big thing. Mm-hmm. She had a lot of dolls, and her son tried to get her to downsize, and she was not having it. So she moved all these boxes in, and they were just stacked floor to ceiling and even on top of her bed. So she didn't even get to sleep in her bed. She slept in a recliner because she didn't have she had a pathway to the bathroom, to the kitchen, and to the recliner where her TV was. And her son got her a caregiver to help her start unpacking some of it. But it was so tedious because she wanted to see everything. She wanted to see every last thing. And she's 98.
Right.
So she spent 6 months plus doing that. And then, unfortunately, she had a fall, fractured her hip, and then she later passed away.
And we know that having an accumulation of stuff in a small space is so dangerous.
It is. And she had a fall from tripping over one of her boxes.
Yeah.
And it's sad because she spent like 6 months of her life kind of toiling with what to do with the stuff. In reality, her son just took it and got rid of it. Like, he didn't keep any of it. He just let it go. And I understand it because he wanted to do that up front. She was resistant. And, I mean, I guess she got her wish. But it's sad that she had to waste 6 months.
Her stuff literally killed her.
Pretty much.
Oh, that's a lesson right there.
It is.
I'm going to go get rid of some of those shoes. I'm inspired now.
Right?
Well, is there anything else before we go that you would like to share with our listeners?
No, I will say this. I am probably one of the worst collectors as well. So my house is full. So I understand the attachment to things, but I do appreciate them, and I really do. I do appreciate the stuff I have. The thrill for me is the collection part. I'm not emotionally attached. If I have my 10 things that I will get out of the house if it catches fire.
Wow.
And
what's your number one thing?
I knew you were going to ask me that. It's actually something that I made for my mom.
Oh, that's a treasure.
It is.
Oh.
It's the most horrendous looking thing. I will never show it to you, but it's
now you're making me feel bad.
It's a pen holder that is in the shape of a mushroom that I made when I was in the 4th grade.
Oh, that's so sweet. And I should have thought immediately of my children's things that I treasure. But no, I thought, I want my piano.
Right.
That's what
So you went big.
I went big. We'd have to have movers for that.
Yes. I can't tell you how many pianos I've seen come and go in and out of apartments over the years. Oh, my goodness.
Well, I
and
love
then
my piano.
but they never get used. They're just in their living room.
But I use mine.
I know,
so that doesn't count.
I know.
Well, Fred, thank you so much for coming, and
It was a pleasure.
I hope if people are looking at downsizing and it's feeling overwhelming, that they will give you a call and see what you can do to help them to make some money off of their stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching. If you have not liked this podcast yet, I would love it if you would like it and if you would subscribe for sure. And one of the most important things to me is to share it with others because somebody else needs this information. Thanks so much. Thanks, Fred.
All right. Bye-bye.